You think you know the person you sleep beside every night, until you find the second phone. When I think back on it now, I realize the first sign wasn't the late nights or the hushed phone calls. It was the silence in between, the kind that settles in after 15 years of marriage when the love is still there, but buried under routines, bills, and the sound of kids arguing over who gets the last Eggo. My name is Emily Harper. I'm 39 years old, a mom of two, and a school counselor at Jefferson High in Denver. My husband, Ryan, is 41, a regional sales manager for a construction equipment company, or at least, that's what his business card says. He's charming, smart, and for the most part, a good father. To the outside world, we look like a postcard. But postcards don't show the cracks behind the smiles. It all started on a Thursday evening. I'd stayed late for a parent-teacher conference. By the time I got home, Ryan had already put the kids to bed. He was in the garage, fiddling with something under the hood of his old '69 Mustang. That car was his escape. When life got too loud, he'd disappear into it like it was a portal to simpler times. I called out to him. "Hey babe, everything okay?" "Yeah," he answered, voice muffled. "Just needed to clear my head. Long day." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "You've had a lot of those lately." He didn't reply. Just wiped his hands on a rag and gave me a half-smile. The next morning, he left before I woke up. Nothing unusual. But his work bag was still sitting on the kitchen table. I assumed he forgot it, so I grabbed it on my way out. That decision, it changed everything. At lunch, I opened the bag just to check if he'd left anything important inside. Inside was his usual laptop, a snack bar, some paperwork, and a second phone. Black. Sleek. No case. No identifying stickers. My stomach sank. It wasn't his work phone. And it definitely wasn't his. I pressed the power button. It was locked, of course. But the lock screen lit up with a preview text. "Can't wait to see you again. Friday still good?" I stared at it for a full minute before I could even process what I was reading. My hand started shaking. I put the phone back in the bag, zipped it up, and excused myself from the office, telling the receptionist I wasn't feeling well. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I picked up the kids, made dinner, tried to smile. I kept glancing at him during dinner. Watching the way he cut his steak. The way he smiled at Ella when she told her silly joke. Everything felt fake. Or maybe it had always been? Later that night, when he was in the shower, I went back to the bag. The phone was still there. Still locked. I wanted to throw it at his face. I wanted to scream. But instead, I did something worse, I pretended like nothing had happened. That weekend, we went to his company's charity golf event in Boulder. He looked handsome in his polo and khakis. The kind of man other women would glance at, maybe even fantasize about. And yet, I stood next to him, smiling through it all, feeling like I was sinking in wet cement. On Sunday night, while he was tucking in our son, I went to the garage. I needed air. I needed space. I opened the drawer next to his workbench, looking for nothing in particular. But something caught my eye. A small envelope, tucked between old receipts and spark plugs. Inside it, a key. A small silver key with a tag that read, Unit 403. Ridgeline Storage. What was he hiding in a storage unit? I couldn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling until the sun came up. Monday morning, I told the school I had a dentist appointment, dropped the kids off, and drove straight to Ridgeline Storage. The place looked like every other suburban storage facility, beige buildings, security cameras, keypad gates. I felt like I was doing something illegal. My hands were sweaty as I entered the unit number. Click. The door rolled open, and I stood frozen. Inside was a tidy room, too tidy. A desk. A small couch. A mini fridge. A few boxes. It looked like a makeshift office, or a hideout. There was a framed photo on the desk. Him. And a woman I didn't recognize. Brunette. Young. Laughing, her arms wrapped around him like they were on vacation. I backed away. I drove home numb. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just existed. That evening, I didn't say anything. I cooked dinner. Listened to the kids' stories. Watched Ryan kiss me on the forehead like he always did. Then, around 9 p.m., my phone rang. Blocked number. I hesitated, then answered. A woman's voice. Is this Emily? Yes? I'm sorry to call like this. I just thought you should know. Ryan isn't who you think he is. Click. She hung up. The worst kind of betrayal isn't the affair, it's discovering your entire life was built on lies. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to Ryan's breathing beside me. Calm. Steady. Like a man who had nothing to hide. Like a man who hadn't just had a second phone, a secret storage unit, and a woman call his wife to blow everything apart. At 3:12 a.m., I quietly got out of bed and went to the kitchen. I made tea just to keep my hands busy. My fingers trembled against the ceramic mug, and I could feel the pressure building in my chest like a dam ready to burst. But I didn't cry. I made a decision instead. If Ryan was lying to me, if there was a whole life he was living behind my back, I needed to see the full picture. No more hints. No more pretending. The next morning, I called in sick again. After dropping the kids off at school, I drove straight to my best friend Kara's house. Kara and I met in college and have been through everything together, weddings, births, funerals. She knew me better than anyone. When she opened the door and saw my face, she didn't say a word. Just pulled me into a hug. I told her everything. The second phone. The photo. The call from the mystery woman. She looked at me, jaw clenched. We need to find out who she is. How? Kara raised an eyebrow. You forget who you're talking to? You know I used to date a guy in cybercrime. I blinked. No, you didn't. She smirked. Okay, fine. He was in IT at a credit union. Same thing. An hour later, Kara had downloaded a data extractor app and connected it to the second phone, which I'd taken again from Ryan's bag that morning. The phone was locked, yes, but with the right software and a little help from Google, we managed to clone the recent call logs and texts. Most of the messages were from one number, saved under the name J. But the texts, they weren't platonic. I miss your mouth. You smell like home. Can't wait to spend another night in our little place. Our little place? Suddenly, the storage unit made more sense. I felt sick. Kara just placed her hand on mine and said quietly, let's find out who she is. We reverse searched the number and found a name, Jessica Daniels, 28 years old. Local address. She lived in an apartment downtown, just 10 minutes from Ryan's office. I stared at her photo online. She was beautiful. Big brown eyes. Effortless smile. Young. Too young for Ryan. Too young to be sharing a life with a man who had 2 kids, a wife, a mortgage, and PTA meetings. Kara said, we could go see her. I hesitated. Then nodded. We waited outside Jessica's building around 5 p.m., hoping to catch her leaving. I didn't even know what I would say if I saw her. Maybe I'd just watch. Maybe I just needed proof that she was real, that this wasn't some cruel dream I'd wake up from. At 5:24, she stepped out. And she wasn't alone. Ryan was with her. My husband, walking hand in hand with this woman like they were in some romantic comedy. He leaned down, kissed her temple, and handed her a small shopping bag. Then they laughed. Got into his truck. And drove off. I stood on the sidewalk, paralyzed. Kara put a hand on my arm. Emily. I need to go home, I whispered. That night, I didn't confront him. I couldn't. The kids had school the next day. I made it through dinner. Dishes. Homework. Bath time. I tucked them in, kissed their foreheads, and whispered that I loved them more than life itself. Then I went downstairs and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the door. Waiting. At 10:17 p.m., Ryan walked in. Hey, he said, casually hanging his keys. Where were you? I asked, voice flat. He blinked. Work dinner. I told you this morning. I tilted my head. Really? With who? Just some guys from the regional office. Nothing exciting. He smiled like everything was normal. Like my world wasn't unraveling. And that's when I snapped. Jessica says hi. His entire body froze. The silence was deafening. I stood, walked over, and dropped the second phone on the counter. I know everything, Ryan. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He looked like a man caught in headlights, not by surprise, but by shame. I saw the messages. I saw the storage unit. I saw you, with her. Laughing. Holding her hand like we don't exist. He closed his eyes. Emily, I can explain. No, I said, stepping back. You will explain. But not tonight. Tonight, you'll pack a bag and go sleep at your little hideout, or I swear to God, I will wake the kids and tell them why their father is a liar. He didn't argue. He just nodded slowly, walked upstairs, and came back down 10 minutes later with a duffel bag. As he walked toward the door, he stopped and turned. I never stopped loving you. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was pathetic. Then why'd you build a second life? He didn't answer. And then he left. I sat in the quiet for a long time. My heart was shattered, yes, but somewhere beneath the pain, a strange clarity settled in. The man I loved was a stranger. But I was still Emily Harper. And I wasn't done writing this story. I thought the worst part was the betrayal, but it was the silence that followed. After that phone call, the one where Jessica's name flashed across Ryan's screen, everything changed. I didn't confront him that night. I couldn't. I lay in bed beside a man whose scent I once found comforting, now wondering what perfume he came home wearing. I stared at the ceiling, counting his breaths, wondering how many lies were tucked between each inhale. The next morning, I woke up early. Sat at the kitchen table with a mug of cold coffee and watched the sun crawl up the wall like it didn't know everything was falling apart. Ryan came downstairs, rubbing his eyes. Morning, he said like nothing was wrong. I couldn't take it anymore. I saw the call, Ryan. From Jessica. He froze. What? Don't lie, I said, my voice firmer than I expected. I saw her name. Last night. On your phone. He sat down slowly. It's not what you think. Then what is it? I snapped. He sighed. She's a friend. We work together. Don't insult me. Silence. Then he said it, soft, like it would hurt less if he whispered. I made a mistake. I stared at him, the words sinking in like poison. How long? I asked. Emily. How long? He hesitated. Then, a few months. Something in me cracked. I stood up. My whole body was shaking. And you brought her into our home? You let her smile at our kids? I didn't plan it. It just happened. Nothing just happens, Ryan. You chose this. He looked at me, pleading. I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't mean to get caught. That day was the beginning of the end. The days that followed blurred together. I functioned like a ghost, making lunches, folding laundry, smiling for the kids. But inside, I was unraveling. Every time Ryan walked into a room, my stomach turned. Every time the kids asked when Daddy would be home, I had to swallow the lump in my throat. He promised he ended it. He said he was sorry. That he wanted to fix things. But the trust was gone. And trust is everything. I started going to therapy. Alone. I didn't tell Ryan. I just needed a space where I wasn't gaslit, where I could say the truth out loud and not feel crazy for hurting. My therapist, Jenna, was calm, insightful. She listened as I cried, cursed, and confessed that I still loved him and hated him at the same time. That's normal, she said gently. It's grief. You're mourning a version of your life that doesn't exist anymore. And I was. The marriage. The future I pictured. The man I thought I knew. It was all gone. 2 weeks after the confrontation, Ryan suggested a weekend getaway. Just us, he said. To talk. To reconnect. No phones, no distractions. I laughed. You want me to go away with you after you cheated on me? His face fell. I thought maybe we could start fresh. There is no fresh, Ryan. There's only this, the wreckage. He rubbed his forehead. I'm trying. So am I whispered. But you already made your choice. That night, I slept in the guest room. The line had been drawn. One night, while he was giving the kids a bath, I checked our shared iCloud again. I know, I shouldn't have. But curiosity and pain are powerful things. There were deleted messages. Dozens. Screenshots he forgot to erase. Photos of them, smiling, at some rooftop bar. A selfie in a hotel mirror. One of her in his shirt. I felt sick. But the one that broke me? A message from her, I wish I could fall asleep in your arms every night. His reply, soon. I closed the phone and sat in silence for an hour. Soon. He wasn't just cheating. He was planning a future with her. And suddenly, everything was clear. He didn't love me. He loved the idea of not being with me anymore. I just hadn't caught up yet. The next day, I told him to leave. I waited until the kids were at school. Sat him down in the living room, the same place where we once danced barefoot on a rainy Tuesday. I know you're still seeing her, I said. His face paled. What are you talking about? Stop lying, Ryan. Please. Just stop. He looked away. That was all the answer I needed. I want you to move out, I said. He blinked. Emily. No more excuses. No more fake apologies. I deserve better. The kids deserve better. He was silent for a long time. Then he stood, nodded, and walked upstairs to pack a bag. He left that afternoon. No screaming. No begging. Just the quiet sound of a door closing. And for the first time in weeks, I could breathe. The kids were confused at first. Where's Daddy? My son asked. Did you have a fight? My daughter whispered. I held them close. Sometimes, adults stop getting along. But that doesn't mean we stop loving you. They cried. So did I. But I didn't lie to them. I wasn't going to be that kind of mother. Days turned into weeks. There were court papers, tense phone calls, awkward drop-offs. But also, healing. Slow, quiet healing. I went to therapy twice a week. I started journaling. I even reconnected with an old friend, Megan, from college. She'd been through a divorce too. We met for brunch and laughed for the first time in what felt like years. I remember this version of you, she said, smiling. I missed her. I realized, so did I. One night, I found myself sitting on the floor of my closet, surrounded by boxes of memories, old photos, anniversary cards, scribbled love notes from when we were young and stupid and full of forever. I looked at each one. Let myself feel it. Mourn it. Then I put them in a box labeled, "The Life That Was." I sealed it shut. And just like that, I stopped waiting for him to come back. Because I wasn't the same woman anymore. And I didn't want to be. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is walk away, not from love, but from the illusion of it. 2 weeks. That's how long it had been since Ryan left the house. 2 weeks of solo parenting, therapy sessions, uncomfortable questions from the kids, and an ache in my chest I couldn't quite name. It wasn't heartbreak anymore, it was something deeper. The grief of losing a version of my life I thought was real. The hardest part? I missed him. Not the liar he turned out to be, but the man I thought I married. The father who built Lego towers at 7 a.m., the husband who kissed my shoulder while I cooked, the partner who promised we'd grow old together. But that man, he was a ghost. And I was done chasing ghosts. Ryan had been texting me, long, rambling messages filled with apologies, promises, explanations. Some days he swore Jessica meant nothing. Other days, he said he loved her but wasn't ready to give up on our family. It was a mess. He was a mess. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't. I was finding pieces of myself again. The woman who used to sing in the car. Who painted her nails bright red just because. Who didn't flinch when her world shook, she rebuilt it. I'd started writing again. Just little things at first, thoughts, poems, even a short story about a woman who burned her pain into a beautiful new life. My therapist said I was processing. I said I was surviving. But deep down, I knew, I was becoming someone new. And then, one Thursday afternoon, Jessica showed up at my door. I was making grilled cheese for the kids when the doorbell rang. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and opened it, and there she was. Brown hair pulled into a bun, oversized sweater, nervous eyes. "Emily?" she asked softly. I didn't answer. She glanced back at her car. I know I have no right to be here. But I didn't know. About you. About the kids. About any of it. I blinked. "Excuse me?" She stepped forward just an inch. "He told me he was separated. That you were living separate lives. He said he was only staying for the kids." I never would've. I held up a hand. "Stop." She fell silent. I took a breath. "You don't get to come here and make yourself the victim. You knew enough to call me that night. You knew enough to feel guilty. That's not ignorance. That's complicity." She looked down. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything." I studied her for a moment. She looked so young. So unsure. And yet, she was part of what shattered my life. But strangely, I didn't hate her. She didn't destroy my marriage. Ryan did. And the truth? I didn't want him back. Not anymore. I said quietly, "If you're waiting for forgiveness, you won't find it here. But if you're looking for closure, I hope you find it somewhere else." Then I closed the door. Not with anger. Not with bitterness. With peace. That night, I sat down with the kids. They were young, but not blind. They knew Daddy wasn't home. They missed him. They had questions. I answered them gently, honestly, without details they didn't need, but with all the love in the world. Sometimes, I told them, grown-ups hurt each other in ways that can't be fixed. But that doesn't mean we stop being a family. We just have to be a different kind of family. My son asked if Daddy would ever live with us again. I paused. Then said, "No, sweetheart. I don't think so." He nodded slowly, and my daughter climbed into my lap. We sat like that for a long time. Wrapped in the truth. And love. And something new. A few days later, Ryan asked to meet. I agreed, not because I wanted to reopen wounds, but because I needed to close the door fully. We met at a quiet park near where we used to walk the kids when they were babies. He looked tired. Older, somehow. I know I lost you, he said, sitting beside me. But I need to say it. Say what? I asked, not unkindly. That I'm sorry. For lying. For cheating. For choosing comfort over character. I nodded. Thank you. He looked at me, eyes glassy. I thought I was losing myself. And instead of fixing it, I escaped. Into someone else. Into lies. And now I've lost everything. I swallowed. You didn't lose everything. You still have the kids. You can still be their dad. But you don't get to be my husband anymore. He nodded. Silent. Then he asked, will you ever forgive me? I looked at him, the man who gave me 2 beautiful children, years of memories, and a pain that nearly broke me. I already have, I said quietly. But forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. And it's definitely not the same as returning. We sat in silence for a while. Then I stood. And walked away. A year passed. The divorce was finalized. I kept the house. We created a co-parenting schedule that was sometimes clunky, but always rooted in love for our kids. I took a promotion at work. Started going to yoga. Took the kids to the Grand Canyon. I even started dating again, slowly, cautiously, on my own terms. But the biggest change? I started a blog. Letters from the Other Side of Heartbreak. It was raw. Honest. Emotional. I didn't expect anyone to read it. But they did. Thousands of women, some divorced, some betrayed, some just trying to feel whole again, wrote to me. Thanked me. Shared their own stories. And I realized, maybe this was my purpose. Not just to survive betrayal. But to help others do the same. To become the woman I needed during my darkest days. Last week, I found an old photo of me and Ryan at the beach. We looked so young. So in love. I smiled. Not because I missed him. But because that woman in the photo? She was brave. And now? She's unstoppable.